Welcome to On the Edge with Deneen Dias. I am here in Vegas at my first BDO Alliance Conference with Kathy from BDO. So please introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Kathy Sautters. I work with BDO and the BDO Alliance specifically, where I am on the Alliance team. And I get to work with the firms specifically in the New England region, the CPA firms that are members, but I also get to work on a national role and scale with our firms from the client experience perspective, which means I get to work with firms back and forth and feel what's going on in their practices, hear what's happening, hear what the key issues are, and react and help them. One of the things that I think we're here to discuss today that I really am interested in, and I know a lot of our firms are, is CAAS.
Yep, CAAS is the hot topic. It's the fastest growing revenue source for firms. And Botkeeper is a partner of the BDO Alliance, and I think we've had the partnership for over a year, and it has been really, really rewarding working with the BDO team because of all the good work you're doing with the CAAS leads from all of your firms. And so this year is your first ever CAAS track where you have hundreds. Well, go ahead. You tell me what's happening here today.
Well, this year at the BDO Alliance Conference, we have more people than ever, which is fantastic. And part of that reason is because we have a new CAAS track. So we have 2,000 people here at our conference.
Oh, wow.
We have 10 different tracks at the conference. One of them, for the first time ever, is specific to CAAS, and it talks specifically to the leaders of these practices about KPIs, about growth, about development, about hiring, about outsourcing, all the things that our practices and the practice leaders are thinking about while they're serving their clients. And they really need to be thinking about from a strategic level. So we have about 200.
Yeah, I was going to say, of the 2,000, and for your first time ever having a dedicated track for CAAS to have 200 of them show, kudos to you. But I think a big part of that is the roundtables that you created. So when did that start, and tell us more about that?
Well, about 4 years ago, we looked around and we started hearing CAAS. We're starting a CAAS practice. What do you have to support us within the BDO Alliance? And we realized quickly in these discussions that there wasn't a lot out there other than saying there's a training program through CPA.com that you can take. We didn't have a lot of community, a lot of leverage. And so we immediately went into action, and we leveraged some of the things that we had from BDO and BDO's practice, specifically in the technology space. That was really helpful. But we also started leveraging the knowledge of our different firms back and forth and together and creating a community. One of the coolest things about this space and this service line is that there's energy.
Yeah.
And to get these people together in a community where they share, we call them roundtables, but whatever you want to name it, it's really just energy and sharing back and forth what's going right, what's going wrong, how I handled this, how you handled that, how you grew, how I want to grow. And that has been a very strong epicenter of what we've done at the Alliance.
It's impressive. I mean, when I joined the BDO Alliance, and then I started working with you, and I started being in your monthly roundtable, CAAS roundtable discussions. The information that everybody shares, everyone helps each other, and then there's emails that fly around with everybody, and then I know you told me recently that people are joining BDO Alliance because of the CAAS community that you've built. And I think there's like 140 people that come every month to the CAAS calls.
We have over 140 in the groups. We have live calls every month. We have, again, that email forum that goes back and forth that they can share the hot topics that we cover. And what's wonderful is now we've kind of adjusted our program, and I did not share this with other people, but we have discussions on CAAS with new firms coming in saying, we have this infrastructure to help these people. And this kind of community is fantastic for what I like to call unicorns, people who are unique in their firms, that they don't have other people to leverage. It's not like they're 10 audit 10 audit partners to pull from.
There isn't even sometimes a CAAS partner.
They're
half tax, half CAAS, or half audit and half CAAS. So you're right. And sometimes there might be like 5 partners at the firm, and you have half of the CAAS partner trying to build this new revenue source at the firm. And so
doing a day job.
and doing another job,
Yeah.
right? So, but people are passionate about this. I, of course, believe it's the future of the firm, and I also see it as a feeder to the firm,
Yes.
because the CAAS folks sit over all the transactional data, and they know the customer because they're talking to the customer every single week, every single month.
Yes.
And so then they can cross-sell into other areas of the firm, and a lot of clients want this type of help. They're calling saying, can you help me with my numbers? Can you help me with my books? And partners are saying, no, but we'll do your taxes, or no, but we'll do your audit. And we're like, well, that's not what people are calling, needing the immediate help with. They need help with their books. So if you say yes, then guess what you get? You get a tax return out of it if you're doing good books. And so I think that the change is happening finally. And that's why I think we have so many people here today. But I would love to, I'm watching the time because I really want to get into some of the hot topics that were discussed today.
Sure.
Because I know you leading the roundtables, you know the hot topics because you see everybody talking about the hot topics. And so you did a great job with this. It was like 9 to 12 session on several different hot topics. And then they also had firms up here presenting. And I think people learn best from people. And so I'd love for you to share what you thought were some of the highlights of the learning today.
I think that's, we broke it down. There's so much to talk about in this space. There really is. And honestly, we revisit them because this space is also moving so quickly and changing so rapidly. The answer a year ago or even 6 months ago is not the answer today. So we need to revisit these all the time. We broke it into 3 main sections. The first being practice structure. BDO has shifted what we do in our practice, our business services outsourcing practice. So that is very relevant. We're seeing these practices shift from outside of their original homes into standalone practices, or shift under advisory, or shift into assurance. Where are they living? Why are they living there? Who's ultimately managing them? And then from there, that's the top level, but going down, where are you growing and how are you structuring it? Are you mimicking what they're doing in audit and tax? Is that really relevant to your practice? Or are you able to create new roles and a new structure? Obviously, CAAS is highly leverageable. So you can have a lot of staff to, fewer leaders in that practice structure. So how do you build it? What unique positions have you created? And then how do you know? This is the tough one. How do you know when you need to grow and when you get to that leverage point of, yes, it's time to add new staff? How do we measure that? The second thing that we talked about that was really the first discussion point when we started our roundtables was education. How do we train our people? How do we, all the CPE that we have in the firm is not really relevant to what they do on a daily basis. So where do we make sure that our people are getting good training that's relevant to them, that's up to date with technology, but also developing them professionally too? And then along with that, what's their career path? From
that's a big one.
People leave.
They're leaving.
And we don't want them to leave.
Don't leave.
But we've got to teach them that there's something for them here, that they're valued first, and that we want to invest in them to keep them with the firm. But what does that look like? A great discussion point came up with, is there a partner opportunity for somebody who's not a CPA within the firm? And if so, awesome. What does that look like?
And some firms have done that. Here in this, they were talking about that, which is exciting. I think that's kind of new. The other thing and I don't want to cut you off, but the other thing you talked about with the first track is, wait, what was the first one? Now I just had a moment.
Practice structure.
Oh, the practice structure. Yeah.
I keep going like this because org chart.
I was at a roundtable and very, very pleased to hear that a lot of the people at my table were standalone. And that's new, I think, from what I traditionally was hearing over the last 15 years. It was over under tax or under audit. I did have some go under consulting lately. I've had some go under digital lately. I have some go under technology lately.
That's interesting.
And so I'm seeing them move, but the majority, I've heard so many people stand alone. And I think when you're not attached to tax and able to really build a standalone separate practice within the firm is when I see firms bring in the revenue and really be able to grow. So I was surprised to hear that. Were you surprised to hear that, or do you know that?
I know that. I've
Okay.
heard that a lot with
Yeah.
our firms, but I will say I'm pleasantly surprised that firms are giving the autonomy to those practices
Yep.
to build how they would like. Use the software programs that they like.
Mhm.
Move away from the traditional platforms that the firms are using
Right.
to leverage, to use their own practice management system just for their service line. So that is really inspiring. It's inspiring.
Yeah. And then the second we talked about was how do you talent? Like how do you train your talent? How do you upskill your talent? That was always the number one question I had when I was at CPA.com is we went through your workshop. Now we get it, right? But how do we upskill our talent? And I've been searching and searching and searching for something to help, because I think a lot of firms will hire a controller, they'll hire a CFO, and then that person sort of is training the other people on the questions to ask and the way to look at the data. But there's just not a lot out there.
We called it, I think today it came up, sink or swim.
Yeah.
Too many firms are relying on the sink or swim method, which, let's be honest, that's not the best way to retain your people and develop them. So we talked about how to build that, how to define it, which is now step one, define what you want, and then build that training around it. And how do you get it? And one of the things that we've done in the Alliance, and I'm so proud of this came out of one of our Alliance member firms, is we actually created 24 hours of training, a 3-day virtual training session for our firms called the CAAS Summit. That has, we had over 1,000 people this year. And you were actually one of our speakers, which was amazing. And it was all about the staff and the seniors and even the director level, but it's what do you need to know to do your job? What practical things do you need to know? One of the sessions, and thanks to BDO for sharing this, was the anatomy of a close. Let's walk through everything. We spent a half day going through what you need to know, how to walk through that process.
So first of all, again, kudos to you guys, because that was the first time that you ever did that, but you saw the need, right? And then I think last year at the BDO conference, you had a CAAS session. And it was the most attended session. So then you said, okay, well, people are interested in this panel. We think we should do this virtual CAAS summit. And the fact that you had 1,000 people, but I'll tell you what you guys did that was so unique is there are now some CAAS conferences, and the digital CPA conference is one of those, but that tends to be for the CAAS leader. It's all about how to put a business plan together, how to hire, how to have engagement letters, all the pieces that a leader has to do to build the CAAS practice. This one was for the talent. And there's nowhere for the talent to go, like to do anatomy of the close, right?
And you know what, to be honest, firms can't invest in sending their people away to that. It's too expensive. So to be able to bring this to them, to our members, and we provided it at no cost to our members, for 24 hours, 3 days straight, virtually, you could pop in, pop out. It was wonderful for their people, and they sent entire teams.
I think one of your most attended sessions was on payroll.
Right? Oh yeah, payroll for non-payroll providers.
That was one of the best attended. And so there's such need for this type of education because I feel, we were talking about this, I mean, Kathy and I could talk about anything, I think forever, but I really think that the bookkeepers, and some people here told me we don't call them bookkeepers anymore.
No, that's the B word.
Yeah, that's the bad word. The challenge is clients do. Like they call in and they say, I need a senior accountant. No, they're calling in saying, I need help with my books, right? But regardless, I think that bookkeepers, senior accountants, whatever you want to call them, right, are the future of the firm. And they're the most important person at the firm because they're looking at the client data and they know what their clients need. And they're talking to the client every single week, every single month, right? So they're the future of the firm. They're the most important person at the firm, in my opinion, because they're dealing with the transactional data. And forever they've been told they're not the most important person at the firm, that they are not even a future of the firm, that they're not profitable for the firm. And CAAS is very profitable. And so I think the fact that you're supporting that talent and giving them the training that they need, because they've never had that type of attention, I think, like.
And I think that the person has changed. This is the important thing. And I deal with a lot of practices that have legacy bookkeeping, services. I won't even call them a practice, a service line. And they'll say, oh yeah, bookkeeping. But I'll say, it's not Betty sitting in the back who's writing on a ledger, right? This is not what we're talking about. And that may be some people's impression. We're talking about young people who like fast-paced environment, who want to be in front of their clients, who love technology, and who are really psyched to find new solutions and put them in place. They like change. They like building something.
And they like talking to the customer.
Yes.
And they want to help the customer, right? They want to bring all these solutions like technology to the customer. They want to automate the customer. There's so much value and it's so rewarding. So it's a different type of person, it's a different type of role. I agree.
And I'll share one other thing that's really important, and I think we overlook this, is these people have people skills. They talk to the clients. They work with the clients on a regular basis. They have to be able to communicate. And so when you interact with somebody who's in the CAAS space for the most part, they're engaging. They know how to speak. They know how to communicate. That's not the case for every staff level person that we have.
Or even some accountants, right?
That's true.
They don't always want to, and never before, I think, were junior, like new people in the firm, even having customer facing conversations of exposure. And so again, I think they are the future of the firm. Attracting them to the firm, protecting them, treating them like they are the future of the firm is really, really important. I have a session here that I'm very excited about, that I'm talking, that I think you kind of helped me set it all up.
Yes,
I did. And the title is summarized, it's Data to Dollars, and how firms can look at all this data. In fact, I told you today on my break at my table, one person said, we have so much data coming at us at the firm, but we have no information.
Right.
And so that's what my session, Data to Dollars, is about. I have a couple of firms on the panel, and we're talking about different levels of data, like Data 101, Data 201, and Data 301 is what's next. And I think that what next is how you can look at the clients and you can look at the services you're providing to the clients, and that's all CAAS. And then you can cross-sell. But if you have somebody at the firm looking at the client information saying, okay, this client, Glenn was talking about this in the session, right? This client has been with us 10 years. When they started with us, they were a $2 million practice, and now they're an $8 million client, right? And we're charging them the same, right? And if you have somebody on your CAAS team looking at the client saying, whoa, you just went from 2 to 4 million in revenue, let's talk to you about what other things you now need from our firm to be able, and you're a feeder into so many different service lines. That's the exciting thing. I think that the shift that I'm seeing happen.
And it's not only data. So to your point, there are a lot of great services that bring you data and software and everything that you need, and you can have the data. What you need, and you have the end results. You have somebody sitting up here just waiting for you to refer some great, juicy, business up here on the higher level advisory side, whether it be tax or whatever else. The problem is the bridge between those two, and that's training. A big part of that is training. So we have to figure out how to implement that. And that's where a gap is.
I have an idea. So I have a firm. So it kind of goes along the line of scope creep, right? Because a lot of the people talking to the clients care about the client, and the client says, hey, I opened up another bank account. Can you help me, with those books? Or sure, let me help you, right? Or hey, I just have sales and use tax, and it used to be in 3 states, and now it's 30 states. And you used to help me with the 3 states. Can't you help me with the 30 states? And they say, sure, right? Or hey, when we started with you, we had 20 employees that were for payroll. Now we've grown, we have 80 people for payroll. And they're just like, yes, I can help you. And they want to help the client, and they're happy that the client has grown, but they haven't looked at the scope of services. So a firm that I work with has figured this out, and the scope creep, she's figured it out. And she has trained her talent to look for scope creep, and they are on it because guess what she does? She pays them. So
what you reward, you get more of, right?
And so they are looking. So now when the client calls and says, hey, we want these additional services, the staff are trained to say, oh, that's not in the scope of work. We would love to help you with this new report, or we'd love to help you, pay your bills or what have you. Let's look at what that's going to cost you. And so they're constantly looking at when the clients are calling saying, can we have more services? Absolutely, let's price you out for that. That's not what we initially charged for. And so let's say they went from $2,000 a month to $3,000 a month. She'll give them that $1,000 for the first 2 months.
That's amazing.
It's a bonus.
That's great.
And so now you've got your team all looking at up charging, I think doing more services for the client.
Well, it's not left on the table or just wasted away, and they're not burning out, being asked to do favors for people because they're nice and they'd like to, and they like these people. So they're spinning their wheels. So this way, it's actually getting put into the process, the workflow of the firm.
That's right. Okay, so we talked, the first two talked about, what was the third one?
The last one that we had were KPIs and metrics.
That was a lot of information.
It was a ton of information, and what's interesting is not much of it was exactly what we measure in the other practice areas.
And people were taking pictures because I think it was eye-opening to them, which Glenn said it would be, right? That they're the KPIs for the CAAS track, and it was everything, the KPIs of your team, right? The KPIs of like what you look for clients. What were some of the other KPIs? There's a lot.
Marketing, that's a big one. Client development and client retention. How long have they been there? Have you evolved them as a client? Who's serving them? Have they grown? Those types of metrics. But I think what's interesting is it really looked at the practice overall in a strategic approach versus we're just looking at what we're doing in the past. What's our utilization? What's our realizations? What's happened in the past?
Right.
But these other things pull them metrics and allow you to move forward. So marketing, so our social media, how's that looking for us?
And for CAAS.
And for CAAS.
Because you might have, I've seen firms now, right, on their website, they have a separate section for CAAS.
Yes.
But who's monitoring how many clicks you get? Who's monitoring how many clients are looking at that part of the website? Who's following up with those people that are clicking on the website for CAAS? Those types of metrics,
Who's really marketing this as a solution to internal hires? Like that's a whole other marketing stream that you could be leveraging. Is somebody doing that? How have you looked at your market and looked at your market potential and seen how many searches are there or open positions for bookkeepers within my metro market area? Okay, so that really allows me to see how much opportunity there is in the market and to dive into a specific zone or buyer group that I can hit. So there's a lot there, but a lot of firms are kind of stuck in their tradition. This veers from tradition, and in a lot of ways these practices veer from tradition the way we keep telling them to do, and they have the ability to do it. They're billing by subscription, they're and subscription-based services. They're using technology and technology stacks the right way. They're leveraging automation. They're hiring young people that are not CPAs or that have a technology background and pulling them in and allowing them to work for clients. They're doing so many of these
technical talent.
Technical onboarding talent. Client service specific talent. So it's really, they're doing all the things that we have been telling, not we essentially, but the profession has been saying you need to do this to CPA firms, and the other areas aren't as able to maneuver and aren't as nimble. The CAAS groups have done it.
They've done it, and they've been fighting this firm fight, I think, for a while, and we're seeing traction, we're seeing change. But what you were saying, which I think is, I never really thought about it this way, is that every other new service line now that firms are starting to build out, they've learned from CAAS what worked and what didn't work. And there was somebody at my table that was newer to the firm, and she was building out consulting for the firm. And I was like, well, what do you define consulting as? Is it HR consulting? Is it crypto consulting? Is it ESG consulting? Is it tech consulting? These are all service lines firms can build, and a lot of them are acquiring. They're acquiring an HR company because their clients need help with HR. But all of these newer, I guess, revenue sources for the firm stem from CAAS, and CAAS has paved the way.
And
at the traditional firm.
I've seen two different models for advisory. I mean, there are many, but in general, the one that is, let's plug in this, drop this guy in here who specializes here. Here's another one. Let's drop this one in. And maybe we could do this. I think we have critical mass. We'll drop this one in. And it's kind of a catch-as-catch-can approach.
Okay.
And that does work for firms. It takes a lot of capital. It takes a lot of work, right? But and a lot of building. The other approach, which we're seeing really come to fruition finally now, is the CAAS up approach. Is where you start with CAAS, which is, you know, a baby step into advisory, but still in their core service line. But you use the data, you use the relationships, you use that trust to then spring out and find opportunities that are huge advantages to your clients, because it's real-time data, it's real-time information. You're not finding out about it 6 months later when they come in to talk about their tax situation.
And it's too late.
You're talking about
bad decisions.
Exactly. You know about it right now. So they're using that for advisory opportunities. And the real opportunity we talk about all the time is how to use your CAAS staff to identify them, train them up, to teach them what to look for, so that they can help make that transition for the clients.
Well, and some of the larger firms have brought in talent to do just that. And so why look for a new client to sell something new to, right? Look at your current clients. And one firm that's here told me that they look, when they bring in a new client, they look what the overall client value is, and they target ones that they think the firm could sell over $100,000 worth of services to. They might come in as CAAS for $4,000 a month, right? So they're, what is that, $48,000 a year, right? But they know that as this client grows and as they build a relationship, that they are really to the value to all the things that the firm does is over $100,000. So they have somebody at the firm assigned to those clients, and it's that person's job to build a relationship with them, know where they're going as they grow, and then introduce all the different tax, all the different service lines to be able to help that client with as they transition.
And it's that person's job to know all the services, really in depth, like know what a good customer in a specific area is. So that person can focus. And what they've done, interestingly, is made the partners subject matter experts that can be leveraged. These are relationship people that look at the relationship and spend all of their time curating how this all comes together.
I'm watching the time. This has been a great session. We've got 3 minutes left. I wanted to see, was there any questions, Della? I haven't been monitoring if there's been any chat or questions for Kathy. Well, we've got you.
There are no questions at this time.
Okay, great. Well, is there any last thoughts that you wanted to share? Anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to cover?
All I would say is that this is a really exciting space and time. And if you are with a firm and you have not invested or investigated how to do this for your clients, first and foremost, this is invaluable. We're facing a talent crisis, not just for CPAs. Babies aren't being born. Our human population is literally decreasing. So the more that we can automate and systemize what we do, and then provide that as an alternative to our clients having to hire and bring on FTEs and deal with benefits and deal with all the things that they need to do, we can provide the service. This is an unlimited opportunity area.
Firms are the ones that clients go to for help. So build out all those additional services. It's no longer just tax and audit. I think that's, and also with P&E coming into this space, and with all the mergers and acquisitions happening in this space, we're going to have less firms, more competition. Differentiate yourself, be different, right? And this is a way to really take care of your customer in a whole new way and differentiate yourself. So I thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And Kathy, how can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you, have any questions?
I work for BDO, so they can email me at any time. You can find me on LinkedIn, but my email is ksautters, SAUTTERS @BDO.com. I'm also on Twitter and social media. So
you're everywhere.
Looking forward to connecting.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.